Hey everyone, this is Eric at Galloway Precision. We've had a couple of folks request a video for installing the SR22 optic plate. We sell the one version of this. It supports about 30 optics with 2 patterns. The location studs are for the narrow pattern optics like the Burris, Venom, Viper, original ADE, any of those that are a clone of the Burris footprint. The rear set of holes are for the micro optics like the Shield RMSC, 507K, 407K, Romeo Zero, ADE Spike, I believe, the Liberty from Swamp Fox maybe. Any of the micros, they sit just behind the studs. They don't use the studs. The holes are 632. We include 3 sets of screws for different applications, different optics. If your optic doesn't include 632 screws. The center is a 832 screw that you would put some blue Loctite on, as well as the threads of the optic you end up, whichever set you end up using, and just snug it up. You can set this, if you have an inch-pound torque wrench, inch-pound, not foot-pounds, around 18 to 20 inch-pounds. Is about right. Your optic should say in your manual what to torque it to. Generally it's anywhere from 14 to 20 as well. On these there is a blocker right here. Okay, that spring does come up into this dovetail and it's kind of at a wonky angle. I'll show you that here in a minute. You can unscrew this screw all the way. You can hear it clicking. I don't know if you can hear that in the video, but that's the positive, positive click, lock, detent, whatever they want to call it. The sight is plastic ultimately, so one thing I found with them is you can just push really hard and it'll generally come right on out if this elevation screw is up. That's a sign there's obviously not super accurate. Okay, the rear sight does move. This is actually my son's gun, and he has complained before about it not staying on target, and that's because the windage just moves around. It's not a very good, oh, here went the spring. That spring sits right here in this little pocket and that little pocket. Now that that's out of the way, it just falls right apart. Okay, this is the spring I was referring to earlier. Excuse me. You do have to be aware of that. Most of these seem to come out easiest from the other direction. That little flathead screwdriver comes in handy again. Just sort of push it down in that pocket and you can slide this guy in. It's going to get really snug and you can tighten it up. That's literally it. Snug this screw down. Again, about 18 to 20 inch-pounds, and that's it. You may or may not have a gap underneath this dovetail, but there will be a gap under the slide. That's clearance and allows for casting variations. We test these 100% in a nominal slide. It's out in the shop, production shop we have here. And every one of them gets checked. And it's like you just saw, well, you can see where it kind of stopped it. And sometimes you have to take a little rubber mallet and tap them flush. But they fit a nominal. If you have a small slide, you may have to fit this to your slide. We generally don't see them over. Ruger seems to hold that one dimension well, but if they miss it, it's under. We have cases, of course, that are oddball, but just be aware, minor fitting could be needed. And if it's loose going in, don't panic. It's okay. That's what the set screw in the middle is for, is to tension that. It's to take all that account out so that everything will fit good. I did show you, probably a bad habit, go ahead and remove these screws. We send them pre-installed so you know the threads are good. We go ahead and remove those in case they might be interfering slightly with the dovetail as you push it in place. If there's just one thread or part of a thread poking through, it'll stop it dead in its tracks. So do remove those before you go to put this on. Again, it's pretty straightforward. Just kind of compress that blocker spring out of your way. When you get done, you can also, it's not a bad idea just to push, 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 make sure it springs back and moves freely. It's not bound up. That's about it, folks. I hope that helps you kind of get an idea how that works, how this little plastic sight is not a precision part. It's just a cheap molded part that doesn't really ever lock in place anyway. So I hope that gives you guys a hand and a heads up on how this works. And if you have any questions, you can email us at tech@gallowayprecision.com. As always, be safe, be accurate, and God bless.